Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. I'm Stephanie West. I'm a licensed counselor here in the state of Michigan, and I am owner and operator of In Progress Counseling. Over the last couple weeks, I've been using phrasings with clients consistently. As I see trends show up, as I hear myself repeating things, it's often like, hey, maybe I should just share that in a video. And it's not because everyone's going through the same thing, and it's not because I'm doing the same thing in each session, but what happens is themes typically emerge, or for whatever reason, my ear tunes into something in a novel way. And over the last couple weeks, the thing that I've really noticed is how often we will, and I'm going to use my own phrasing here, we will go shopping in our history when there's a change in front of us. And so the way this looks is often when I'm noting that a client is demonstrating readiness to make a change, I often see them processing through historical opportunities, historical relationships, historical geography. They go into kind of the archives to figure out, hey, what was back there? Because going forward can be quite uncertain. I might not know what the path is. I might not know my options. And so often we go into history and we grab whatever's there and say, hey, is that the thing? It's actually a very common thing to do. So an example I'll use with my clients is, years ago I went through a pretty horrific life rupture. And on the other side of that, there was an apartment complex that I landed in, and I spent about a year there. And really, it was a very restorative place for me. There was, good steady rhythms. It was by a nature preserve. I was able to go for walks almost every day, do some journaling by a body of water. It was a lovely piece of what I would say is kind of a restorative and healing journey. And so if for whatever reason my life were to take a huge rupture and I was going to be geographically relocated, I promise you that is the first place I would look. Or as I've recently sold my condo, I would also, kind of go back into that particular chapter and say, hey, are you sure you still want my condo? Did you want to sell it back to me? Or maybe I go further back into history and I call my parents and I say, hey, mom and dad, can I move in? I'm typically going to shop in my history first. Now, not everyone does that, but often will at least think about it. And maybe those doors are closed or those opportunities are past or those options no longer exist, but it doesn't stop our brain from going there. That's a very logical place for our brain to go. And so what can often happen when I see a client, demonstrating a readiness for a new relationship, often they bring up an ex relationship or someone who is really desiring connection. They start to bring up a failed connection from their history and wonder more about that or even want to revisit that. And often it's just a way of processing through where they've been, and there's fear or there's uncertainty that shows up as we move forward. And so it makes sense that we at least look in the rearview mirror. Now, hopefully we don't turn around and walk back towards and grab something that's past its particular, I don't want to say benefit, because in some of these cases we're talking about relationship, but things that we've developed past or grown out of or moved past. When we go back into our history, it's not because we're necessarily supposed to stay there, and rarely is it actually because we're supposed to return to something. But our brain does process through those particular options, opportunities, and losses, because typically it's trying to understand, hey, where have I been, and how might that influence where I might be headed?